Please mute yourselves. Thank you. Welcome back to another exciting trip around the crypto cataverse. Did you know that in this year alone, over $200 billion have been invested in AI? That is a staggering number, and it is growing exponentially every second. But today, we're honored to host Dr. Allison Curry, an Ivy League professor of medicine and the inspiring co-founder and CEO of AiMS Innovations, along with co-founder and COO Ryan Warren and board member Joel Hillier. Join us as we explore groundbreaking AI research and celebrate female leadership in tech. But before we introduce our speakers, I would like to welcome Alan Lau and Jacob Livingood to present our Bible verse.
Alan, would you like to read the Bible verse today?
I would love to read the Bible verse. The Bible verse comes from Philippians 4:4-9. Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. This verse reminds me of a song we used to sing in Sunday school. It goes, rejoice in the Lord always I sing, rejoice, rejoice in the Lord always I sing, again, rejoice. Love this song. This is what it means to me. When I think about this verse, it just brings a lot of childhood memories about, being joyful at all times, in all circumstances, rejoice in the Lord always. Brian, you chose this verse. Can you share with us why you chose this verse?
You're on mute.
It's had meaning for me for a long time, even before I was Christian. I was raised kind of agnostic, and anyway, one of my favorite movies when I was a little kid was a movie called Pollyanna. We've probably all seen it, right? And I just remember saying that there were like over 800 verses in the Bible that were happy texts, and so this was a happy one for me. Like I just, when there's times of anxiety and space in our lives and we struggle, it's good to think about the things that are pure and that are special and that are beautiful, that can lift us up. When it's Paul was writing it and he was in prison struggling when he wrote it. So yeah, I think it's a very special one to uplift us.
Having been raised in an agnostic family dynamic, what actually brought you over to Christ initially?
Oh, that's quite a story, man. It would take another episode, but I was rock climbing a long time back in the day, and almost had a serious accident, and you start to reevaluate things in your life, and yeah, I was kind of a slow introduction because I was very resistant. I was closer to the atheist side of agnosticism, and then before I found my way. Yeah.
Amen. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
I want to make any other announcements. Go ahead.
Actually, Jacob, before we go on, do we have any other comments on that Bible verse?
I actually do. I was going to breeze right by it. I actually have a coffee cup that has this scripture on it, so it's actually pretty cool. Like drinking a little affirmation, drinking some faith and prayer and supplication early in the morning to get your mind right and get the positive thoughts going. So yeah, it means something to me. I love it. Anybody else?
That's awesome. I just want to do a shout out and say that we've been in 8 different countries. We've had all kinds of different faiths, and we have just been so blessed. What do you think, Jacob?
I think we've done amazing stuff. I'm really excited. This is episode 140 something. We're up there.
125, but you're close.
125.
Deviation of 10% in, close, right? But I want to say huge thank you to our sponsor, NC Management. For over 25 years of excellence in digital innovation and their commitment to guiding businesses through the complexities of modern technology, their expertise in Web3, blockchain, and custom-built solutions ensures a successful digital transformation for all their clients. You can check them out at ncmanagement.io. This particular episode has garnered over 67,000 initial impressions, 30 reposts, and over 1,000 initial views on initial reach. I'm very excited to see what the numbers look like after the episode. And also, the Crypto Canaverse is hosting and organizing an international pitch contest for female-led startups focusing on technology sectors such as blockchain, Web3, AI, crypto, medtech, and fintech. This event is scheduled to happen in the last quarter of 2025. If you're interested in being a judge or sponsoring women founders, please contact Crystal Cruz on LinkedIn or via email at info@cryptocanaverse.com.
Thank you, Jacob. Before we introduce the AiMS team, I would like to welcome our guest co-host, Joe Hillier. He is also a board member of AiMS Innovation. Welcome, Joel.
Thanks very much. It's exciting to be here. And what an interesting panel we've got lined up today. So this should be a fascinating conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so I'm a fractional kind of startup helper, if you want to put it in the simplest terms. I've been working in startups and innovation, and I have advanced degrees in entrepreneurship and innovation and disruptive strategy from some good places to go to school. And it's always been a passion of mine. I started my first business as a 9-year-old selling paintings door to door with my sister that my parents had left over from an art shop. And by the time I'd finished school, I had 5 businesses that I'd sort of started up in different ways and been successful in that enough to get me pocket money so I didn't need to rely on my parents. So that was a fun thing for me. So I've been involved at the corporate level in innovation internally, so entrepreneurship. I've been a startup founder myself, and I've helped others start theirs. And that's really what I find joy and passion in, is actually helping people take an idea into the real world and make money out of it and get satisfaction from doing something that's actually quite challenging. So that's a little bit about where I come from and the angle that I'm in.
What was your passion to come on as an advisor with AiMS? Where was that coming from?
Well, that's a fascinating story, and I credit to a little bit of divine intervention with that. Maybe I'd ask Ryan or Ali to tell you how I got involved, because it's kind of a fun story.
You want to share that, Ali?
Sure. We were Ryan and I were at the Franchise Expo in New York City with a group that Ryan was working with previously. And we were in the section for services, and Joel was sitting next to us, manning his booth on business strategy. And over the course of 3 days, we had so many wonderful conversations, just as 2 service booths looking for clients. And so when Ryan and I began AiMS, Joel was just the obvious person to call. We found him to be very wise and even-keeled, which was a fantastic compliment to our personality. So we've been really lucky to have him.
Thank you. I want to actually bring welcome, Dr. Allison Curry and Ryan Warren, to the show today. And since you guys are already, giving out compliments, I would like each of you to, tell me what is one characteristic that, you inspires you, or that is amazing that you love about your other co-founder or board member. Who would like to start?
Let me share that first. We'll start with Joel, since he just finished up. But Joel is he's just a wonderful human being. I have no other words to say. Just a very kind person. Outside of the business space, I would enjoy his company. So that says a lot, I think. And we've been very strategic about who we bring into the board, that they're kind of aligned with the same vision and goals. And so Joel is just a fantastic person, smart, capable, and exactly what we need in AiMS. Ali is truly brilliant, absolutely brilliant person, and very kind and very giving. She's very generous with her time, which is hard to get sometimes. She's very generous with her time, and she's very kind, and she's extraordinarily sharp. So.
Oh, thanks. One of the things that I love about Ryan and the way his brain works very differently than the way my brain works. Growing up in the field of science is, I think, very logically, everything follows, the next thing in order. And Ryan has taught me how to look outside the box, look in new places to find new things. And his ability to retain information seconds after he learns it is truly extraordinary. I've seen him take in information and be able to talk about it in a conversation a half hour later, as if he had known the field for 20 years. And so I love sitting next to him. And again, a really nice compliment to the way that I work.
That's amazing. Joel?
Well, yeah, that's a great way to start a show, I think. I value Ryan because he's a man who likes to understand things. And so he's a problem solver in what I would probably simplify his best superpower as. He likes to understand why something works, how it works, and if it can work better. And having someone in a founding team that's like that, that's inquisitive, I think that's invaluable because entrepreneurship is all about innovation and innovation is all about inquisitiveness. And so if you've got someone who's by nature inquisitive, then you're on a good pathway. As far as Ali's concerned, I really like the connection that I have with both Ali and Ryan because it makes it easier for me to do my job because they're different and one has a more scientific brain, one has probably perhaps a little bit more creative brain. I'm able to help guide those things, and it makes my job easier having two people like that. And probably the quality I admire most about Ali is her passion. She just wants to excel at something. It's not enough to be just good at it. We've been doing pitch deck development and things recently, and Ali keeps going back and says, "Oh, mine's not at a 10 out of 10 yet, according to all the different metrics that I measure my success by." And so things like that really make it easy to work with founding teams.
Thank you all. It's really important for investors, advisors, and partnerships to, see the human side of what you guys are doing and the partnership side. You guys are so well-rounded. It's amazing. So thank you so much for being here, everyone. With that being said, I would like to know who would like to tell us about AiMS innovations.
I volunteer, Ali.
Oh, yeah.
Go for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the mission of AiMS Innovation at its core is really all about using innovative AI solutions to make participant-based research faster, cost-effective, and scalable. And I would say that I have been in the field of science, and particularly doing participant-based research since 2009. And the processes and the tools that we use have not changed since 2009. So the act of just the doing of the research in even Ivy League institutions and in the most elite institutions in the country is really a fragmented process with fragmented and outdated tools. So a lot of the genesis for AiMS just came out of the frustration that I've been having in my job about how to get in touch with participants, how to engage participants, how to make things flow easier, and my team ends up spending 6 or 7 programs to make a study work. And it takes us 2 weeks by the time somebody says that they're interested in our study to the time that we actually get in touch with them to do a 5-minute screening. So as sometimes great ideas do, the idea for AiMS came down to actually a single minute. And I do research on teens with ADHD and autistic teens, trying to support their journey on learning to drive. And I had an NIH study, which included 60 participant study, so hour-long interviews with participants. And it took us, we're still doing the study analysis, but it took us a good 1.5 years to actually do the analyses. and the study. And after I spent a few $1,000s having somebody to transcribe all of these interviews, Ryan was sitting next to me, working in the telecommunications space. And I happened to look over his shoulder and saw that with his $15 VoIP business line, every call gets transcribed in full, along with call sentiment and call summarization and action items. And I was like, wait, hold up. I literally just spent $4,000 having somebody transcribe my interviews. And I see that as the single second that AiMS Innovations was born. Ryan had challenged me after that to spend a week thinking and really diving into how AI can help me as I was doing my research. And then I told him after the end of the week, I just can't unsee what I saw. And so he and I together decided to kind of jump in with 2 feet. We came up with what we think is a fantastic AI-powered platform, the first AI-powered platform that really creates an end-to-end solution for research studies in a diverse number of sectors. So of course, I've been in academia, but our board and our scientific advisory board has a wealth of experience with studies in market research and pharmacology research and biotech. And so what we're hoping to do overall is really take the time and the cost for doing studies from weeks to months to minutes to weeks. And by doing so, we can really triple the output that we discover new things. And so that's really, we keep that at the core of what we're doing every day.
So participatory research studies in multiple different fields. You've secured $48 million in research funding. So what is the strategy there for convincing funding bodies or organizations to support work in these fields like AI and participatory research studies?
Well, so many sectors use participant research studies. I think of it mostly as academic research, but community organizations and market trends and pharma and biotech all use studies which ask people what their behaviors are, what their insights are, and that really informs the things we make, the things we do, the innovations that we have. Advancements in AI present such a unique opportunity, I think, to automate and enhance so many of the processes that research teams struggle with on a daily basis. And so our vision is to be able to bring AI into, keep the rigor, keep the security, but be able to explode the amount of time that it takes, the cost effectiveness, and the global scalability of research. Most of our research is just done in English. And so having the accessibility to participants around the world and to researchers around the world is absolutely invaluable. Ryan, did you have anything to add to that?
Well, I just think that from a practical standpoint, like, you just mentioned going for scalability and the amount of cost. I don't think maybe a lot of folks realize just exactly how much it costs to be able to take and do any particular study in another language. So when you say a lot of research isn't being done, a tremendous amount of research isn't being done. A lot of researchers have great ideas, but they can never get them off the ground because the operational cost is so incredible. And I mean, there's a lot we can talk about as it relates to like Web3 and crypto and things, but just universally, so much research and is not being done, and so much creativity is being put into the back room because it never gets off the shelf. It's too expensive to conduct. And so, AiMS, I think, has the potential to reach a lot of people and help a lot of people, which is one of the reasons I'm so passionate about it.
So AiMS is really particularly focused on disrupting the research ecosystem, streamlining that using artificial intelligence. What are some of the big challenges in that ecosystem that you guys are like forefronting?
Let me jump into that one, Ellie, because that has to do with compliance a lot. So if you don't mind.
No, okay. Go for it.
So this is like, we can just kind of scrape this surface, but I'm happy to like talk about this with anybody anytime. And this is, I think, so important. There's the big issue with adoption of AI all over the place, and from the financial side to especially to academia and research, is that people fear AI and what it does with their information. They're scared about what happens if I give AI information. What could happen? Does it hallucinate? Does it carry over into another study? Where does my data go? And they have a legitimate concern. because the traditional, large scale LLM that we use, the ChatGPT of the world, is a public service point entity, and that information can cross contaminate. It is not secure, when it comes to this kind of research, we're dealing with protected health information and all sorts of financial information, especially crypto and so forth. All sorts of financial related information has to be secure. And how we make it secure, there are different ways of going about it, of addressing the LLM part, which one of which is not to get too technical, but it uses containers that are stood up in HIPAA compliant environments like AWS or Azure or Google AI to provide a HIPAA space where the LLM resides. And then outside of the LLM, there would be like a container with the index vector file. So it takes the information there and it's isolated, right? So I'm trying to think of a way to share this without being too technical. It doesn't allow for the sharing of information out that space for the most part. And that is about as close as you can get to HIPAA compliance using AI. AiMS has developed or is developing a kind of a novel way of doing that that takes it out of the hardware or hard cloud space and creating virtual VM inside of the RAM, which means essentially it means that the information doesn't spill over. There's no cross contamination. There's actually a recording of the transaction, or excuse me, of the erasure part of it, the cryptographic zeroization onto the blockchain itself. So you have a record of the actual deletion. So I guess set all that aside and say that has been a huge thing for our company, is to figure out how we make a fully compliant platform, meaning where's the information going? It's encrypted at all times. It's AES-256 at rest, and then it's TLS 1.3 in transit. And our platform is fully compliant, and our partners are fully compliant. And so, a lot of things going on there to make sure that we are, that we meet all the requirements, that we're GDPR, that we're HIPAA, that we're ISO 27001, IEC. It's that we're rock solid when it comes to those kinds of protections. We treat information that way. Even the AiMS platform, as it's being developed, it has a lot of unique features, especially for like enterprise level solutions to protect people's information, de-identifying when it's not necessary, those kinds of things. So that's been I think one of the bigger challenges is just making sure that this is set up in a way that people can trust what we're doing.
Yeah. And I'll say from the scientific perspective, the vast majority of studies have the same pipeline, right? We prepare the study, we recruit and enroll participants in some way, we collect data, we monitor progress, we analyze. That wheel, the possibility of improving that wheel is absolutely enormous with AI in every sense. So one of the things that we've focused on is in creating our platform is having an LLM model with that serves as a generative AI NLP research assistant. Her name is Rachel. You can see that the big RA stands for research assistant, which is in academia what we usually call research assistants, RAs. She basically holds the hand of participants through the study autonomously. So she makes initial contact, recruits the participant, screens the participant, conducts surveys as needed with very complex skip logic, and collaborates in going back and forth with the participant. And she is not a chatbot. She learns for the information. She is highly specialized, trained as a research assistant. So she seamlessly brings participants through their research journey. I see it really as a funnel. She takes care of 99% of the work. And then these kind of complex cases that come up where there's a failed number or somebody needs some escalation, she collaborates with the human team to escalate that. And then somebody on our, on the research team can call and work with the participant. The other thing that's really missing every time we do research studies is a user-centric platform where the research team can go in and see where everyone is in the study. Like I said, right now we cobbled together 5 or 6 different programs and spend hours doing things that Rachel can do in 5 minutes. And so we see that the platform is really a space where Rachel, as the research assistant, collaborates with the research team. She's doing most of the work. The research team has this very like user-centric platform to be able to see what she's doing, to capture all of the transcriptions, to capture the participant information, the participant log, everything that Rachel's doing, all the way up to thematic analysis. So in that way, our platform really takes a research team from the beginning to the end of a study. So the cost savings, the efficiency savings are really enormous.
Can I just
So
add one more thing to that, just to maybe put a higher level strategic layer over that? The technicalities of the tool are mind-blowing. The capabilities that we can achieve in terms of just speaking so many different languages instantaneously, reaching out to multiple people, and securing all of that research participation. The industry verticals that this tool applies to are many and varied, and the discussion that Ryan had just before about the security and the compliance aspect, that has wide ramifications in so many industries, particularly in intelligence and defense and in finance and all those sorts of things. It can help you prevent ransomware attacks, all sorts of things like that. But at the basic level, what AiMS is doing is taking anyone who does any kind of market research, whether you're a marketing company, whether you're a financial services or insurance industry trying to figure out new product offerings, or whether you're a research institution like at an educational or pharmaceutical or medical application, anyone who needs information and they have to get it by asking other people about it, this platform will allow you to do that very, very quickly and very, very well, with so many analytical capabilities that come in on the back end of that. You add business intelligence to the analysis, then all of a sudden you get insight that you can't get, and you can get a lot faster and you can get a lot smarter insights because it's not just a human that's doing it. So it's strategic, it's groundbreaking, it's actually industry defining, in my opinion.
Thank you guys for sharing. Before I call on Kenneth to ask a question, I just have a note, not really a question, but to surmise what Ryan said. We're AI, we're futurists and we're like riding the wave of the front of this. And a lot of people, I won't say normie, but I'll just say people that are just average consumers, when dealing with queries and LLMs, they are a little bit skeptical of where that information may be going. Is this secure? Is this sourcing and conglomerizing all my data? Like, we won't go too far down the matrix rabbit hole of sentience and automations, right? But we're moving into like AI agents and stuff like that. And so to be HIPAA compliant, you guys are building something that's allowing people to share this data safely and securely. And they don't have to worry about, if I shared medical information, that's going to get out anywhere from this individual container. So I think that's really beautiful. Kenneth?
Yeah, sure. So I have several questions here. So, one of my companies, we specifically work in AI development and in as about 50% of what the development we have going on. So I have a few questions about Rachel, right? That's the moniker of the AI. So are you guys using for training this model? Is this a proprietary model that you guys are using, or are you aggregating open source models? I would assume it would have to be, in that case, it would have to be multiples, and then like aggregating those models together to do this specific application, or is this a application specific proprietary one that you guys have developed with the team? Just a little bit more information about the model itself would be nice.
Sure. Just to kind of the basics of it anyway. So we're using a large model, right? And then we're just doing core training over the top of it with the team to trains it, and then setting that up in this case, we're actually using Azure to set this particular one up that powers Rachel. There are a few other AI pieces they're agentic pieces that have to be set up separately because this technology the only way to use agentic AI in the workflow and be compliant is to have them isolate it the same way. And so it's a little bit tricky, because anytime you use a model, even proprietary ones, and there's a risk of data leakage, right? So, I mean, and even sharing potentially with the GPU, CPU, like if it's not sitting in the RAM, there is a possibility of contamination. So that's what our tool addresses. It does it with a tremendously low overhead and very efficiently. I'm really excited to share it. So it sounds like I would love to chat with you at some point. I think you've got the background to discuss the more technical side of the Rachel/Eve piece. Eve is the execution model.
Yeah, you can geek out together.
Yeah, I would love to do that, Ryan. The speed at which the development of the space is happening is very interesting to me. And then the application of, I mean, I'm very interested in the use cases, both in utilizing public models and just seeing what we can do with these large language models, and then aggregating different public models into specific applications, but also in the training. I do know that I'd like to talk a little bit on the back end. I know that what a lot of the public doesn't understand is training models, even if you're utilizing aggregation from public, it's very time consuming. It's immensely time consuming. Large projects like DeepSeek and ChatGPT, these have tens of thousands of individuals training these models, over and over and over, and taking data and doing it over and over again. So time and processing is there's so much more complexity behind when you use an AI assistant and ask it to schedule a meeting, right? That's all that the user sees on the front end, and it's scheduling a meeting, and it's building a schedule for you, or it's making a phone call, or it's sending out an email. But on the back end, that could have been hundreds and thousands of hours of specific training. So I'd love to just the general public to just understand how difficult this is. This is not something that you just come up with overnight. AI training is especially application specific, which is not necessarily what Rachel is, but there are very specific applications that is being trained to do. So it's a very difficult process to train these things. So also talking a little bit about, I know you went over some of the security concerns, which I'm very happy to hear, because lately, in the last 2 to 3 weeks, there's been 3 or 4 major security breaches across some of the largest AI systems in the world. We had a major security breach with DeepSeek last week, where around 10,000 user information was leaked, and then recently, I believe yesterday, had an article come out that over 20,000 accounts on ChatGPT had been leaked out with private information and private login information and things of that nature. So, how important is it for you to create a brand, with your company that lets the user know that we are in fact very concerned with this obvious problem in the AI space of security and keeping your information sound, but while also being very user friendly and non-complex? I mean, how important is that to you guys in your operation?
Let me just say that if in a scale of 1 out of 10, that's an 11 for us. Like, it comes before everything else. So, like, just because of the nature of the people that we work with, Ali's teams and all the researchers, this is the most critical piece for us, is making sure that information is 100% secure. And I mean 100% secure. And so that took a lot of trying to figure out, as you can imagine, right? We don't use a public service point LLM to solve this problem. So, we're not unique in that kind of containerized environment is a thing that's it's being done, but to do it, there's a next level way of doing it. So without getting into too much detail, you can be assured that when you use the AiMS platform, that the data is absolutely eliminated, right? Because the whole process takes place. Just to give you a little background on it, the entire process takes place in RAM. So it takes place in RAM with no sharing in the CPU. It's got a manager piece in there, right? And then when the interaction is over, it uses a cryptographic zeroization process to eliminate the data in the RAM, right? Which and then it logs that record into the blockchain. So you have a recording, which is one of the compliance aspects of like if a GDPR is to be able to record and log it, and you have an immutable log of its destruction, and then there's no possibility that it can be shared with anywhere else. So so to just answer your question again, that is the most important part of this whole process, why it's taking a while to put all this together. And that's why we're asking for additional funding, is to make sure that we can do this. But it has so many wide-reaching implications once we achieve that level of security.
And I will say, just from the researcher point of view, probably the biggest barrier to adoption, because it's the first question I get whenever I talk to my my colleagues is, but that's open source, right? But that's and there's very few academics that know much about AI at all. But the impression is out there that going on to any AI and plugging anything in is just it's not safe. And actually you're told by their institutions not to use any of these tools. So I think the way I feel about at the institution level is I see at my institution and others like it, they keep dipping like a little toe in the water, right? Like we've got our own GPT that you can use, or we're just kind of playing around with this one thing, but the prevailing thought is that we should stay away from it as much as possible. And so one of the missions that I'm on is to help my colleagues and other researchers understand that we can speed up the studies, make them more scalable, make them more cost effective, and keep the same amount of rigor and actually more security than we have right now. The AiMS, what Ryan was just talking about, Eve, is far beyond what we do, I think, in institutions currently to be HIPAA compliant. And we're working with one of the leading firms on to make sure that we are third-party verified and that we are abreast of all the different changes and all the different security regulations around the world, and that we keep up to date with that.
That's amazing. I think just a couple more quick points here, and I'll let Dan. I know Dan's been sitting there for a while to jump on. I apologize, Dan. This is just really interesting to me. So I think one thing that you said, Ali, that really resonates is having to destigmatize what the current culture is around this new innovation, right? And I mean, it's the same way. I've been in blockchain technologies for over a decade now, and we've seen that over the years. You have early adopters that understand the disruptive power of a technology, but it normally takes years and sometimes decades to destigmatize certain things about that. We saw it with the internet. We've seen it with cell phone usage. We've seen it with, lots of different things, streaming content and so forth. So, that's always a task of the early adopters, is to teach the general public that, hey, that what you've heard isn't necessarily true. And the problems that are here can be easily fixed if we put enough time and effort into it. So I think that's fantastic. Two more quick questions I have for you guys, and then I'll hand it over to Dan for his question. So number one is, I don't know if you guys are planning to. Is there any plans to integrate any type of blockchain technology with the current project? Because it really heavily what you're seeing now, or at least what I'm seeing in development, is a lot of times when we have a AI startup, they normally have some kind of component of blockchain technology along with them. Number one, because you can't get much more secure than blockchain, right? If they're wanting to secure their user profiles, or it's as simple as creating a wallet login that's on a blockchain, it's absolutely secure and infallible, along with other things like creating tokens for use case and things like of that nature. And then there's thousands of other applications there. But is there anything that you guys are looking at in the crypto sphere to be included with Rachel and the AI assistant?
Al, do you want to answer that, or
Yeah.
No, go ahead. You go for it.
Well, an in-depth knowledge of Web3 and blockchain is kind of missing from our team. I've dabbled with it for quite some time, and I understand it, but not at an extremely deep level. But I can see so many potential use cases. Certainly, when it comes to like the blockchain as it relates to Eve and how it logs in the blockchain, in this case, the Ethereum blockchain. But there's so many other potential areas of from DeFi to DeSci, which is a big thing too. to be able to do the decentralized science is unbelievable. What the implications that has on research and being able to to be able to execute smart contracts on the blockchain between funders and researchers. AiMS could facilitate all of those things.
And it provides additional motivation for people to participate, right? So
oh my goodness.
if you're thinking about using anything, DeSci, DeFi, whatever, you're crowdsourcing input because you're rewarding participation in a way that, that's blockchain miners are doing that for Bitcoin and so forth. So the idea of that is quite powerful because it's already a product market fit. There's no reason for us to have to prove that at all. And so I think there's just unbounded opportunities in the Web3 space to do all sorts of very innovative, creative things.
Let me add one more thing to that, Joel.
Yeah.
I want to say that from what I understand, there does not appear to be very much, if any, research done in the behavioral side in blockchain, and for that matter, cannabis as well. There's a lot about beta testing one thing or another, and I found a lot of research that relates to that, but very little on user experience, why they might choose one thing or another, why they would exit one cryptocurrency versus another cryptocurrency, why they would use a thing or not thing. So user experience would be a big one in that space, and then and behaviors would be a big thing that AiMS could address, immediately. So the answer is yes. I think our eyes are just being opened right now to all the possibilities that space offers.
And I will say our board the members of our board have deep expertise in behavioral research. Several of us have been involved in many studies evaluating technology, whether it's apps or car seat technology. And so being able to take those skills and kind of apply them in the Web3 space to understand user behavior, user insights, user preferences is sort of an easy leap for our team in terms of skill level.
That's fantastic. I would also say that, I'm involved with a couple like DeSci projects, which are very new, right? Things that decentralized science is something that you didn't even hear that term 18 months ago, right? Like it's very new, and I think the biggest push with it is hypercharging the research and scientific community by creating blockchains that are public and that are verifiable, and to peer reviews would be absolutely would be changed forever, right? To have verifiable peer reviews on chain, and I think that's a really interesting, I think it's an interesting area that not many people have dived into, because obviously we're less than a year and a half into this thing and building out. So that's very interesting. I'd love to talk to you guys about that sometime too, because we're working on a few small scale projects in the DeSci kind of arena, but nothing that's really been groundbreaking that's made me say, wow, that would be amazing to jump into. And my last question.
I was just going to say that's something that really resonates with me, and what I see on the front lines is that scientific journals, are having so much more trouble since COVID getting peer reviews. I was just talking to somebody yesterday who has had her scientific article under review for 5 months, only to be told that they tried to find 50 peer reviewers and they could only get one review, and sorry, they're just going to reject it. And what's happening from what I see is that there are more and more scientists that just aren't willing to feel like they're getting taken advantage of by paying to submit an article and then being able to, asked to review it for free, and then having either them or their institution have to pay for it to get access to their own article that they signed copyrights over to. And so what I've seen since COVID is that it's much, much harder to be able to get scientists to do anything for free.
Yeah, which is a groundbreaking idea. Hey, anybody out there listening right now, listen. A blockchain dedicated to scientific peer review with a tokenized incentive plan. There's a whole business right there. That's a whole.
That's on our list.
Yeah, it's a whole. Okay, well, shh. All right, everybody, keep that to themselves. They've called dibs on it. No, but honestly, there are. I love getting on calls and conversations with people in the space like this, because you can have 2 or 3 ideas talking about these areas that just hasn't been done yet because of how new the space is. And I think it's fantastic, man. If there was 100 of me, I would be building 40 different projects right now. But there's only one of me, so it's how it works. But yeah, that's super interesting. The last thing I wanted to do before I hand it over to Dan is I believe Crystal had said that you guys are currently working with some major hospitals like John Hopkins and maybe a few others there. So just to help you guys with what you're going on, what kind of what is the needs of the project right now? Are you guys looking for partnerships and or affiliate programs? Are you looking for new staff? Are you looking for development? Are you looking for injections of capital? And just maybe tell us a little bit about the needs, that you guys currently have, and we'll so we can get that out there to the listeners and to the investor networks.
He's not answering, so I guess
my one thought was traction does not seem to be our problem. Many of our board members have large networks of academics and public health and pharma, and there isn't a person that any of us have talked to that thought this was paradigm shifting, given that we're all stuck in the mire of inefficient studies. But I'll let Ryan answer what you say, but that was the thing came up in my mind.
Well, I think that's absolutely perfect. But to answer your question, kind of like all of the above, right? We need to secure funding capital to complete our projects, and then so that we can jump right into commercialization. What's really great about this is we're very close to being able to fully commercialize. We can actually operate on the MVP that we've created, just not in a compliant way, not the compliant way we want to operate. So in order to get to the compliant level, we need to be able to afford to finish the development. That's the biggest part. And then we would like to scale rapidly so that, because we truly have a first mover advantage in this space, we would want to scale as quickly as we possibly can to bite as much of that, $200 billion TAM that sits out there. I mean, if we capture 1/10 of 1%, that's $200 million ARR. So, and the potential to impact a lot of people in a positive way. So,
Ryan, do you want to mention how much we're looking for? I just thought I saw that question in the chat.
That's what I was about to ask. Yeah, go ahead.
So we're looking for, the ask right now is $5 million for 15% and a board seat. Sets the post money valuation at 33.3 million, I think, something like that. And of course, there's a lot that goes with it, but
and we do see development and sales and marketing as our first priorities. Certainly getting the core team in order, but development, we already have a development team that we've been working with for a long time. They're absolutely fantastic, that have deep knowledge of the AI space and have actually worked with several banks. So we're already continue right now to talk about to talk with them about planning the development. So we are primed and ready to go.
Well, it sounds like you guys are, I myself, it was niche, but obviously just being in the blockchain space, but ran a venture capital firm for quite a few years. And it sounds like, this is where you guys are positioned is where is where most venture capital wants to see a project prior to getting involved, right? They want to see an MVP, which you guys have, even an operational MVP outside of, some tweaks that you guys want to make. So that's a great position to be in. Really quickly, what would be your ideal investor? What would they look like? Are you guys looking for individuals with a certain skill set to come in, or a value add, or something like that? Are you guys opposed to venture capital firms coming in, or would you rather stick with individual/angel investor status? Like, what would be your ideal if you could just swing a wand and there it is?
I think we've all had this conversation a bunch. Ali, I know you and I have talked about it, and the rest of the team has talked about it. We'd really ideally look for somebody that had the same strategic long-term view that we have, which may not be a venture capital team. It may be, and there's a tremendous upward trajectory, I think, with this company. So we're open to different funding sources. But again, we want to have somebody that's allied with us to bring this up to what it can be. I think like I said, the potential is just extraordinary. And we want to find somebody that kind of aligns with our team's vision.
Yeah. And
perfect.
I mean, we have patentable technology right now. We've already got patent applications in. So the value for this is quite impressive. And absolutely looking for a strategic investor, someone who's not just there to take money out of the business and disappear, but to help us grow it and expand it into things that, as I think Ali and Ryan have both said, that are life-changing things for the people that actually use the tool. Because particularly, I mean, we all experience things that have relied on research every day. And if we can help enable not just less expensive research, but better and more research in things that matter, then that's a valuable outcome. So someone that aligns with that ethos is really a powerful person for us to get connected with. Anyway, I'd love to hear what Dan says.
Yep. Dan, we're going to pass it over to you. And again, sir, I apologize for all the questions. I just got off on a rabbit trail, but yeah, Dan, it's all yours.
No problem at all. Great questions. Appreciate all the insights and answers. Yeah, in my head, this seems to make so much sense. As someone who came from an academic background, cold calling or just calling survey is obviously a huge challenge. And I'm just curious on the problem side, have you quantified just how much time or percentage of a funding request or a research grant goes into this process of manual calling and outreach? And if so, can you put a dollar amount on how much that looks like?
Yeah. Well, Ryan and Joel have been asking me that from the beginning. And what's the average research project look like? And the truth is they're all so different. So what I did was I took some of my research studies that I had done, and we have to track every dollar, right? So I know where every dollar in any research study has gone. And what we came up with was probably 67% of time saving. We can probably do it. I mean, if you think about it, in a 100-person study or 1,000-person study, you're calling one participant at a time. And I asked my team, what's the average time between when somebody emails us back and says, I'm interested, and you can give them the 5-minute screening we need to see if they're eligible? And she said, oh, like 2 to 3 weeks. Right. So we rewrite an email and then they call and then they leave a voicemail on the study phone and then we call them back and email them back and then it gets stuck. And then they want the screening call at 7 p.m., but we only work till 4 p.m. Rachel can call thousands of participants at the same time. So you think her ability to just automatically screen 1,000 participants in a day in multiple language. She also works on a number of different channels, right? So WhatsApp and Telegram and SMS and email and phone. We are extremely limited. Actually, just got an email yesterday from my institution that says we're dipping a toe in the water to see if we can get a research participant to text us back, because it's only one-way texting now. So as far as I'm concerned, we're living in 10, 15 years ago in our scopes and in our daily activities. So I'd say so lightning fast, probably 2/3 of the cost, in a way that makes it a minuscule amount that we're usually pay for these services. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
No, I wanted to add to that. When we talk about multiple channels, we have messengers and we have survey bots, or stood up in a survey bot that can piggyback onto a messenger like Facebook Messenger. We have a Facebook Messenger integration, a Telegram integration, there's 5 of them anyway. But they're not none of them are compliant. None of those. So you can't actually affect any kind of study that needs to be compliant across a channel like WhatsApp. The WhatsApp is 256 encrypted. It's they won't provide a BAA, so you can't make that a HIPAA compliant communication channel, but it does help facilitate, scheduling and things like that through messengers.
We schedule people to come in for research visits all the time. And my research assistant would say, I'm on the phone for hours of day answering the exact same question. Yes, here's our parking. Yes, we will pay for parking. Oh, you have to reschedule. And all of that is seamlessly handled at the Rachel level. So what kind of goes down the funnel to what the research team has to do is minuscule. And in my mind, that means that we can offer our research assistants opportunities that ask them actually to intellectually contribute to our studies. Because what happens is they get really excited about it. And then a month later, they're literally making the same phone calls. And so the turnover of that group that, by the time you pay for fringe, your research assistants cost $60,000. So, and you're asking them to make the same call for a year. The amount that they could be doing other than that is really valuable to everybody.
Can I just interrupt the conversation, folks? I know we're getting close to our time here, but I'd love you to talk about why Rachel and AiMS platform is so different from any competitor out there right now. So there are a bunch of survey organizations, a bunch of survey tools, and I know the answer to this, so this is a bit of a Dorothy Dixer kind of question, but I'd love to hear you talk about what you think it is that is so groundbreakingly different from any platform. Why would I want to switch from what I know to something like AiMS?
You want me to take that?
Yeah, go ahead, Ray.
Okay. Well, I mean, there are competitors in the survey space. To name them by name, there's some that we all know. There's the Qualtrics of the world. There's SurveyMonkey. There's RedCap isn't really produces surveys. There are a number of them. There are not as many as you might think. There's not a large competition in this particular space as it relates to like advanced technologies, and what you end up with in those spaces is way more fragmented implementation of tools. Some of them have some compliance aspects. Some of them have none, or very limited. Some of them will kind of show the participant progress in a very limited way based on calendars, but none of them actually track the participant through the process. None of them are using AI tools the way we're using AI tools, with the exception, there are companies out there like NVivo that have thematic analysis tools and have really good data analysis projection tools, all of which AiMS will have. But we have some very unique pieces that I think if I'm saying that right. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah. I was going to say, just to add to that. So Ryan was what he was alluding to is this end-to-end solution where we have first mover advantage in an end-to-end solution. We are also compliance first, and so SurveyMonkey has just compliance only in HIPAA and only if you have the enterprise. Some of the other tools are not HIPAA compliant at all. I would say user-centric design, which is one of the issues with RedCap, which a lot of researchers currently use, and that's the one that we use, and then have to layer 5 other tools on top of it to overcome its deficiencies, and a focus on scalability and cost efficiency. So, SurveyMonkey and RedCap have the availability to make a survey in their platform. They use maybe AI chatbots to make it a little bit better, but nobody's focused on reducing study costs by 70% and being able to triple research output. And so this end-to-end solution, we're constantly obsessed with thinking, what do we do as a research team, and how do we make AI, AI accessible and let AI do that so we can be thinking about the things we really need to be thinking about.
Yeah, can I just add a little bit onto the top of that as we sort of get to the end here? The things that are coming down the pipe for AiMS include things like Collaboration Hub, where you can get researchers to collaborate with one another and share insights and experience on studies. We're trying to build also open source data sets. There are some that are available right now, but they're not aggregated in any meaningful way. And things like having a community accessible data set where you can look at different dimensions of data, different data on different industry verticals, that sort of thing is something that is lacking, where you can't just go to one place and find, oh, here's some data I can use for my own study. So enabling more research by creating a marketplace essentially for open source data. And then also ask the expert kind of forums where you can have a pay experience with a researcher who's got subject matter expertise in a particular domain. There's so many things that are available as we create this platform. And like Ali said, it's an end-to-end experience. It's not just part of the research experience or the research process. And so having that all in one place, creating that marketplace or that community hub for researchers to go and do their research, whether they're doing beta testing for a new app development or whether they're doing something for a pharma or whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's the principles of research are boundaryless, essentially, and will enable people to do more with what we are offering to them in this platform. So I think it's a substantial shift in the way that research will be addressed globally, and if you add on to that the little tool that Ryan's developed, this thing called Eve, which is this ephemeral virtual environment where you can remove the data interactions so you can prove that it didn't happen and it's not stored anywhere to protect the integrity of people's research, that just has ramifications which are separate from what AiMS will do. So it's a fun platform, a fun opportunity, and we'd love to have conversations afterwards with people to get involved or invested in what we're doing.
Thank you, Joel, Ali, and Ryan. Where can our audience reach you?
Ali.
Sure. You can reach us at www.aimsinnovations.com. Ryan and I both have emails which are available on our pitch deck. And then you can also look at us, get in touch with us on LinkedIn. We aren't that hard to find.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. We appreciate you. With that, we're going to go ahead and pass the mic over to Alan, who's going to request, is there any prayer request, and close in prayer. And then if you could please stay on, we will also do a bit of introductions. We have some people on the call that we didn't introduce, and some other questions. So Alan, please take it away.
Yeah, love to connect also you guys to some federal grants. I know there's federal grants being given out for AI projects and companies. So make sure we connect because grants, my understanding is non-dilutive. So that might be an avenue that we can get you some funding. But I want to open it up to the audience. Is there any prayer requests before I close in prayer? No? Okay, let's bow our heads and let's close in prayer. Dear God, thank you so much for another week of Crypto Canaverse, where we can showcase AiMS, a platform in research AI, knowing that this is going to be the future technology, knowing we're all developing to do good, to further your kingdom. Father God, I just pray that you provide us with our needs, grant us the partners and the inspiration, and help us grow together and find those missing puzzle pieces that we're all looking for. Continue to protect this group, provide us for a good weekend that we can share lots of joy and bring us lots of peace in our lives. So I just pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Alan. You always say such wonderful prayers. I appreciate you. With that, we are now, everyone have a wonderful weekend. I am going to stop this.